Today we're going to continue our in-season training series, and we're going to look at the reasons why you should continue to do it. Just by looking at what I have written on the board, it probably first thought is, isn't this why you should work out all the time? And the answer is yes. Obviously, we are always trying to increase these things: strength, power, speed, mobility. That's really what sports performance is. And we want to keep doing that in season. Again, if we take long breaks, if we take a 3-month break, best case scenario, you're missing out on a 3-month window to make improvements. So that's always our thought process with that. We're going to dive a little bit more into the losses that occur when you stop working out. And so some of this is from specific books or specific research articles that have been done to see the specific effects of not working out. These are mostly talking about grown men. When you're older and you've trained for longer, your training age is older, then you will keep your gains, the gains that you make in the off season, if you're talking about off season versus in season, you will keep those gains longer when you stop working out. So it's even more imperative for a high school kid, someone that's 15, 16 years old, been working out for about a year or less, to keep working out, because they will actually lose their gains faster than what we see here. A good example is if someone comes to us in November, they work out in November, December, January, it's 3 months of training, and then they go into season starting February 1st, and they don't work out until May. 3 months on and then 3 months off, you're going to be starting back close to zero at that time. Now, you will make those gains back quicker. It won't take another 3 months to get to where you were at the end of January, but you're really starting from the beginning. And so we want to do a little bit more research and give some examples for this to really show how important it is. So from the book Breakthrough in Sports Training, the author gives an example of an idea how long each attribute takes to lose. So for strength, specifically, it's 30 plus or minus 5 days. So you can go a month without training. So again, if we're using the high school baseball as a schedule as an example, if you stop training February 1st, then by the beginning of February, at the absolute best case scenario, you're going to start losing overall max strength. So if we're talking about like a trap bar deadlift 1 rep max, if you're able to deadlift 300 pounds at the end of January, then by the end of February, that will be going down. That's max strength. For repeated power, so look at power there, you're looking at 15 plus or minus 5 days. So again, we're talking about more of like a jumping or swinging a bat, some type of repetitive motion that's more of like power output. It's another way to look at power output is like ATP, how fast you can replenish your ATP production, which is what would power something like throwing a pitch, a max effort, super explosive movement, and that's going to be plus or minus 5 days, plus or minus 3 days. So that's for ATP. So again, within a week of not working out, you're starting to lose the ability to do a max effort, powerful movement like throwing a pitch, and be able to, your body to be able to replenish the ATP production as fast as when you're training. It's only 5 days. And then speed is the same thing. So speed also equals 5 plus or minus 3 days. So within 5 days of not doing speed training or not doing some type of high intensity explosive exercises, you are starting to lose your top end speed. So again, when we look at this from a high school baseball perspective, as soon as a week after you stop working out, you're going to start getting slower, and you're not going to be able to produce the ATP as quickly. You get into 2 weeks, you're starting to lose your overall power output. So things like jumping and explosive movements like that are going to be diminished. When you get to March 1st, you are going to start losing max strength. So again, that's best case scenario. I would think in most high schoolers, it's even quicker than that. So from this, you start March 1st losing your strength. You still have six weeks left in the JV schedule where your strength is continuously declining at that point. So if they came in again to do the max out sometime in March, it would be significantly less than when they did it at the beginning of February, end of January. Another study done in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research had grown men, do a 16-week strength program, and then they had one group continue to work out and just change their workouts to do lower volume and higher intensity lifts, and then they had another group that completely stopped working out. And the group that completely stopped working out saw a decrease in overall strength, while the group that changed their workouts and kept doing it with just decreased volume actually saw an increase in strength. So not only did they not lose strength, they actually continued to improve. And that's much of what we do with our guys in season. We talked about changing from more of like an eccentric focus in the off season when we're going heavy and just training to a concentric focus. That's one way that we modify some movements or lifts in season. Another way we do it is by cutting the volume down. So we will try to keep the weight a little heavier, 85, 100 to 100%, and really drive the volume down where we're doing like 2 or 3 reps for a big compound movement. Again, that should keep the chance of being sore and overall training economy down. We're not going to be doing something like 4 sets of 15 for something. If we're trying to drive hypertrophy in the off season, we might do that. But something in the lines of that low of a rep scheme, we will get the neurological benefit of doing that and maintain that max strength without really crushing an athlete. So that's another way we can do it. The sessions are a little bit shorter. Obviously, the volume's way down, but they are still getting that stimulus within the season. The other big thing with power is body weight. So the formula that we use to calculate the power output for athletes takes into account their vertical jump and their body weight. Obviously, when the body weight goes down, the vertical jump could stay the same. Your power output's still going to be less. If your body weight stays the same and your vertical jump goes down, your body weight or your power would also decrease. Common sense. So when we go in season and the body weight starts going down, even if we maintain our overall ability to jump or the explosiveness, and we lose body weight, the power is still going to decrease. So if you're 175 instead of 185 trying to throw a pitch or hit a baseball, then the throwing velocity or the exit velo will potentially go down. The other thing with losing body weight in season is that 99.9% of the time in high school kids, you were losing the lean body mass. If you're not lifting, you're not really losing fat. So not only are we losing actual body weight, it's bad to lose either one of those for most high school baseball players, but if we're losing the lean body mass, then it's going to have even a bigger effect on the power output. So that's something that we measure in our guys consistently. We want to keep up with. We want to make sure that they're as powerful at the end of the season as they are in the beginning. The last thing being mobility. There have been a lot of studies done and a large correlation between like lead hip internal rotation and having a lack of internal rotation lead hip and having elbow problems. So for a right-handed pitcher, if your lead hip internal rotation, so your left hip internal rotation is poor, then you're putting more stress on your elbow potentially. So that's something we also look at in the season. Are our guys losing hip internal rotation in the lead hip? Are they losing too much internal rotation? Are they losing shoulder flexion? And then we try to create exercises and programs to combat these types of things. So I don't know too many high school kids that work out on their own that measure their hip internal rotation and their shoulder flexion on a regular basis, or take that into account at all with what they're doing for their workouts. So I think in a lot of ways, working out with someone in season is actually more important than the off season because there's so many other factors to take into account. It's usually not a high school kid's usually not capable of running through all those scenarios and taking care of themselves as well in season when they have all those other variables. So again, it seems simple, but with all of these things adding up, obviously we don't want guys to come in for 3 months or 6 months in the off season, stop, and then have to start over again and see their production decline towards the end of the season. So it's really important to maintain your in-season training program. It's usually just a matter of some small adjustments to make sure that you're able to work at your peak performance throughout the season.